My name is Dan Stansel, and as head of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Fall 2014 graduation ceremony for the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. We're very fortunate today to have as our graduation speaker one of our various distinguished alumni, Mr. E.C. Sykes. E.C. Sykes is an executive in residence at North Carolina State University, where he is assisting with the launch of the Power America Institute. He is also the principal officer of Sykes Consulting Services, supporting a number of early growth stage companies and top-tier Asian companies to improve their operational and managerial performance. Prior to these roles, EC was CEO of Switch Lighting, an LED lighting solution that was scaling into the large and rapidly growing LED lighting market. Switch won the most awards in the industry for innovation and design. Prior to Switch Lighting, EC was named Executive Officer and Group President of Flextronics, a $28 billion Fortune 500 company. Part of his responsibilities included leading the Industrial and Emerging Industries Group, which included $4 billion in revenue from 400 customers and managing 35,000 people in 30 international sites. Prior to the president role, EC was Vice President of the Guadalajara, Mexico campus and General Manager at the North Carolina site. Prior to Flextronics, EC was CEO of Circuit Board Assemblers, a design and manufacturing service provider which was recognized as one of the 500 fastest growing technology companies in the nation. EC holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering and Master's in Management from North Carolina State University and serves on the advisory board of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. He also holds several board positions and is an active supporter of a number of charitable organizations. So I'm really delighted to have and to introduce to you Mr. E.C. Sykes.
Thank you, Dr. Stansel, for that introduction. Faculty here, parents, friends, graduates, congratulations, right? Thank you for this opportunity to come and to share some of my thoughts with you on such an important day in your life. Actually, as I reflected on it, the best thing that I thought I could do with you was to share you some of the moments of my life story as how things have progressed since I sat in the seat that you're sitting in. There's some things that have happened to me that I wish I knew when I was in your position, and so I'd like to share a few of those with you at this time. First, a little bit about myself. I went to school and graduated from Durham, North Carolina. For those of you around here, that's a nearby city in the Research Triangle Park area. At that point in time, the diplomas had different levels, and the level I had chose was what was called an academic one, required a foreign language to be included in that. Now, I'm an engineer. I don't know about you. My engineering activities made foreign languages difficult. Of the 70 required to get out, I got a 69.5. I think they were generously rounded me up that year in order to get me out of high school and to move me on from there. Here at the university, maybe like a lot of you, I was a co-op student. I was able to work my way through the university experience, and I worked and I attended college every other semester. In my senior year, I was here attending college. At the Student Center, there used to be a water feature that was out there. And so during the summertime, like any good college student, as I was out getting my son, that was the favorite place to go in order to do that at. And actually, that water feature worked so that it was some steps and water kind of went over the steps. You could lay out there, you could stay cool and suntan. I went out there that summer, went to sleep, woke up, and found a beautiful blonde in front of my face, to my great delight. And as a senior and she being a freshman, everything was perfect from that moment on. And so now, 29 years later, we're getting ready to celebrate our anniversary at this point, of where both of us happen to be alumni of North Carolina State, and this was the place that we met. Made it a special place for us. To make the story more interesting, we have our first child. My wife's got one of those baby books. You know, you go through and you document all the history. Maybe you did this in your time, so you remember all the things that happened. So she's there, and she's at my parents' house, and she's asking, you know, hey, Mama Sykes, where did you and Granddad meet at? She goes, well, it's interesting. They were members of 4-H, you know, this agricultural club for those that are not into agriculture. And they lived, about 100 more miles apart. And there was a convention here when they were in their early teens, and they came together at the convention, never seen each other before, met here in the front of the Student Center, which led to their event, which led to my event, which I'm even more glad. Not only does university then give us great education, but also it seems to be a great place to start developing those type of relationships. At least they've worked well for me in that aspect. After graduating, I went on to work in a number of telecommunication roles in the Research Triangle area that was here. And as Dr. Central mentioned, I actually ended up being in a small company that was sold to a larger Fortune 500 company that was here. When it was acquired, my feeling was, look, there's a good old boy club that's running this company out of Silicon Valley. I don't have a prayer of making a difference inside of this company. This is a short-term play for me. I'll get the most I can out of it, and then I'll move along to the next thing in the area for me to go take care of. And so I started that process. A couple years later, they had some difficulties in Mexico, in Guadalajara. And so remember that 69.5 challenge I had in high school? And so tomorrow, I fly now to our home in Mexico that we have, and in with my temporary Mexican visa there. And so, you know, the challenge that we had in Spanish before was determined to be a little bit different than that at the end. Matter of fact, after 3 years of staying in Mexico, I was asked to go to Silicon Valley to help the corporation at that point with some of the changes that they had. I became an executive officer there for Flextronics, then a $28 billion manufacturing company. And I got invited into the Good Old Boys Club. So I stop and I pause, right? Because for me, the best plans and the most thoughtful things I had kind of laid out for at that time, you know, avoiding Spanish, not being able to go here, and the plans to go to other places, just didn't work out the way that I saw them to be, right? And the greatest asset I think I had during that period was flexibility. Matter of fact, now when you go into, you do searches for companies, the buzzword, the things that people are looking for is the mental agility of executives. Their ability not to be able to solve a particular problem that they have now, but the ability to solve future problems and to adjust as to what they will be coming up as they arise. I was given that opportunity. Clearly, I have no control over where the life's path is taking me to. And what I can encourage you from my own life story is don't get bought into the plan as much as use your ability to adjust and adapt to whatever life brings to you at those different times. All right, first point. Second point of 3. There's a few things I've found as I watch people move through their professional careers that has made a large difference to them. Some have been an enabler for people that have moved through the business world, both professionally as in the technical level and in the business level, right? And those 3 things that have stood out for me have been their intellect, right, their resources, and their character. So let me give you a little bit of insight into each one of those 3 so you can get a feel for how those apply to you and how you want to think about those as you move forward. And so your intellect is, I mean, today with your degree, it's somewhat proven. You've shown of what your capabilities are in that particular area, and congratulations for doing that. I can tell you, as you go into the business world, you're going to meet the business executives that probably don't have their cup all the way full in that particular area. And so don't let that be a surprise to you. And actually, I think it's a testimony that the two other pillars that make this up are also very important for business success. Intellect alone won't carry you all the way. And it's been interesting to me that it's not always the brightest that move to the top. It takes other traits as well to move there. When you think about intellect, actually, it's not the size of the hammer that's the most important. It's the frequency that you use it and how well you apply it. And so you're going to be called upon opportunities to do that. My suggestion to you is to continue that process, to continue to grow. When we talked in the advisory board here, we talked about what skills that we want to make sure that the team leaves with here, the graduates leave with as they finish. And really that is the ability to continue learning. And as I go through and I look at people, it's amazing how many people go to the step that you are right now and stop their learning process at that point. And this is not about that. This is about your ability to continue learning from now on will make the difference as you go forward. And so I encourage in that area. I think it's a little more difficult because the structure is not there like you have it here, and it's a choice that you'll make going forward as to how aggressively you want to hit and apply yourself in that particular area. So for me, it's been about the frequency and the passion of it. It is kind of like compounding interest. Every little bit makes a difference, and to a point in time, you've got a widespread and a significant contribution in that particular area. The second topic is about resources. And so when you think about resources, very often we think about, do you have sufficient money? But it also runs in the other areas. It's the family support, it's other things that you're called upon that are distractions or can be complementary into what you have to achieve, what's going on inside of your life, right? And when those add or subtract, they'll make a difference into what your career looks like. And what you want to do there is use these opportunities as levers. When there's a deficit in that particular area, the English proverb is that necessity is a mother of invention is certainly true. So use those as opportunities to move forward and those pieces. But you also need to recognize, what does it do for you? Once you recognize that, you can make some decisions about that's proper, so you can move on to the next step. So resources are an important point. And the third one, and I think the one that's most important as you go through the process, is character. Particularly as you get further and further away from this point and you move further into the business world, it's about the character traits that become more and more important as to what makes a difference. And you know people that you like to be associated with, and you know people that you've either worked under, worked with, that have been more challenged in that particular area. And so when you work through the character piece that's there, just be aware that in many cases, from a global business perspective, when you look for people that have had difficulties, leaders that have stumbled, it's been very often from a character trait that's resulted into some challenges there. I reflect back on even the character traits of our founding fathers. In fact, I did a little research thing about what makes a great leader, and you do their web search. And Forbes in December of 2012 had a good list of 10 items. The first item in that was honesty. And when I think about honesty, I very often think about our founding father, George Washington, and the story of, did you cut down the cherry tree? Of whether that's true or not is another question. But that character trait's been instilled with our founding father side. And that got more real to me recently. I had an opportunity with about 75 other people to go to the Supreme Court. We met with Justice Scalia that was there, and had a Q&A period. Right? And one of the questions I asked him was, as you look across the U.S. and you see all these different activities going on, what keeps you up at night? So he really paused and thought it through. And you go, it's the change in virtues that we have in our country that bothers me. It's how we're drifting away from integrity. It's the hard work. It's traditional values that made America who it is, and that change away from theirs that caused him the most concern, right, and distress as he looks through things. And so even at that level, people are recognizing the importance of character, the shift away from it, and I'll guarantee you it's going to come and impact your life, right? You get the chance to make different decisions in that particular area. And so character is the third pieces of those, right? So intellect, resource, and character kind of been proven defining traits that I've seen that's helped move people forward. And thirdly, for me, probably the most impactful lesson that I've had since sitting in that spot actually started when I was here. And it's been a long journey for me. So when I attended college here and I had the little blonde that I was getting to know better at that point in time, every Sunday I'd drive back to Durham, to our home church, attend Sunday school and activities there. And I had a great teacher there that went on to be a professor at some point. And he came one Sunday and said, you know what, it's you and your life and your future activities are all going to be about people. Now, hey, look, I'm an engineer. And so that means I'm inverted. I like sitting behind computer screens. I don't necessarily like going out in front on the other side of them. And the thought of it being all about people for me was like so I resisted it. I didn't want a part of it, right? And it took me more than 10 years to get over it and to understand it. And as I look back now, man, it's probably the most important thing that I've picked up. The impact and difference I make is limited by how much I can get done in a day. It's limited by 24 hours. And if I want to make an impact larger than that, then it has to be surrounded by more than myself, right? And so the ability to work with, influence, engage other people becomes more and more important. I did stuff. I got a brain scientist from Stanford to come in to do some coaching. I went through a bunch of other things to really, as an engineer, pick up and improve my skills in that particular area. And now as I move forward, I'm just more and more convinced the ability to work with people, innovate people, engage them, love them, becomes a more and more important part of being successful and going forward. And so I encourage you in that particular area. It may be a challenge for you like it was for me, but it's an important skill set nonetheless. Okay, today's a great day for you. I commend you for getting this far along the path. Congratulations for that. I wish you the best of luck.